Buongiorno, 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 buongiorno. Come ha detto lei, buongiorno, buongiorno.
Buongiorno indeed. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, Turin Giants podcast. We are back with podcast number 276. I wanted to make sure I get it right this time because Zach had to. I was off by 100. It's not even like it wasn't even like 2 or 3. It was 100. That's how we run things around here, boys. But if you've been a listener for a while, you know we're not really good at this, but we try. We try to bring you the best show possible. Alessandro Belpiero here. Well, not me, but this ding right here. My name is Farhad. I'm the host that loves you most. As always, welcome to Turin Giants podcast. I want to welcome our new listeners because we have many of them. You know, Instagram has been good for us as far as promotion, and I appreciate everyone dropping their notes in the DMs. And sometimes it gets overwhelming. Sometimes I'm sitting there replying the fan mail, but I'm happy to do that. Before we move on with a stressful edition, you can see in Frederick's face, man. He's ready to go. He's steaming, literally. I want to welcome Zach, Frederick, and Damiano, our new guy. Boys, thanks for making this happen. A lot to talk about. Tense situation in Juve land, so we're going to try to break it down and see where Juve is headed with this whole thing. Shall we start?
Here we go.
All right. Well, obviously, the majority of the podcast will be dedicated to the 212th edition of Derby della Mole. It's actually quite unbelievable. That's a big number when you think about in terms of American sports compared to European sports. I mean, the biggest rivalry is what the Bears-Packers, which was like 120 games played, but 212 games between Juventus and Torino. Yesterday we showed what we've been showing. Draw number 12. I'm going to throw it to Zach. Kind of give us the overall feel of the game, and just I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
it's a strange time.
The last game we played was a really unfortunate defeat against Milan. Obviously, the stupid penalty and the crazy own goal. This game, a derby game, a passionate game, kind of to kick off the second half of your season, was really an opportunity for Juventus to exercise the demons of the first half of the year and the draws. And I really wanted to look for us to come out with fire in order to really lay to bed any of the doubters and to start, a kind of new phase of Juventus, learn from our mistakes, move on. And in a lot of ways we did, certainly with the early goal, but ultimately we leave the game with the same result we've seen in 2/3 of our games this year, a draw.
And you know what kind of upsets me? It's not like, I mean, there was, of course, the 4-4 thriller against Inter, but mostly it's terrible draws too. It's not like they're draws that are, these battles. It's just like, yeah, we're, you're Juventus, but we're gonna go ahead and score against you, and then what are you gonna do about it? I want to read a couple quotes from Thiago Motta. Of course, I'm referring to footitalia.com. This is our website of record. Please support our friend Rav. So here's what Thiago Motta is saying after the game. We started out very well. What else is new? Am I right? After taking the lead, we dropped too deep as a team. By putting the ball into the box, they created dangerous situations. In the second half, we came out well. Certainly a few too many draws. Now we will also have to recover the players who have made a great physical effort and think about the next game against Atalanta. Yeah, that's another thing. Our schedule is not is not really easy. Frederick, my man, you're feeling it. You're going through it, man. Like many Juve fans who are very passionate, you are literally red in the face. And I told you to save it in what's in our WhatsApp thread because I wanted to get your opinion. You're upset. Tell us why.
I'm really upset. I can't even put it into words. I just feel that we have a lot of opportunities that we squander. We squander them on the pitch. We squander them outside of the pitch. And I really feel that this situation is deteriorating. And I'm all for, you know, being optimistic and positive. Don't get me wrong, because I know
Yeah, that's what you're known for.
my global outlook is a bit grim, as some people say, but I just expect not the best in terms of results, but in terms of effort and in terms of
Mhm.
professionality. And that's what's lacking at this point. And I can feel like what the players are going through. I've felt something similar in my time when playing football. And I can just feel that tension and feel those negative vibes. And at this point, I don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And
So
that's what bothers
here's
me
what you
most.
wrote. Let me interrupt you. Here's what you wrote. Maybe like I put you on the spot with that question. So you're saying, I'm literally going through WhatsApp. You're saying not a finished product, all fine by me, but you cannot justify all these draws against weak opponents. That was a huge thing. That's a huge thing in in this Juve of 2024. Is like, why are we drawing these people? And you just can't. The squad should both be perfectly able to maintain the top three place in Serie A, yet all we see is players underperforming. I don't think I've ever read someone else's messages while they're on the podcast, but that's basically what you're saying. Enough with the draws, come out with some fire. You're Juve, and I'm seeing that a lot. Even as far as people go as far as saying Mota is an agent. Of course, it's a joke, but he's not a Juventino. A lot of people are, believe it or not, against an Inter quote unquote legend, coaching Juve.
Well, like, I don't have any magic answers or solutions to the problems that we're having right now, but it's clear to see that we're having problems. And I'm not pro or con Mota at all, but I just feel the direction that we're heading in, it's a downward spiral. And I think that a lot of people are not aware of the fact that if we don't get that Champions League qualification, then the ramifications of that will be enormous. And
Mm-hmm.
this is something that bothers me a lot. This is something that we tend to I don't know, not face the problems head on, but someone needs to intervene. Someone just needs to intervene, whether it be Giuntoli or Scanavino or whoever's in charge. And I'm not saying that somebody needs to be fired or heads must roll, but at least open a dialogue, because we can all sense that there are things going wrong, that this is not something that we can basically flip from one day on the other. And we have to sit down and see what are the issues here, what are the issues that we can basically uh, well, help right now, what are the issues that we can resolve, and we can move on, because we're not moving on, and we're in a
Let's
downward
take a
spiral.
little detour. I want to talk about Andrea Agnelli possibly coming back in the next couple of years. That's his plan. Are you, like me personally? I think he kept the team and the whole, not just the players, the organization in check. He did make some mistakes, don't get me wrong, but at least we were moving forward at gigantic steps. Um, do you think Andrea Agnelli coming back might solve some of these problems? And like you said, somebody needs to step up. May he be the person who takes control of the organization and tells them, "Listen, we're Juve. What are we doing for the last 3-4 years?"
I'm not a fan of Andrea Agnelli per se as a person, because I don't know him. I can only judge the things he's done at Juventus. And granted, he made some errors, but I'll never forget when we had that season with Del Neri. And I think it was the first year of Marotta as well. Marotta wanted to confirm Del Neri for the second season. And then Andrea Agnelli intervened and said, no, we're not going to do that. I'm going to call Antonio Conte. He's the right man for the job. And the rest is history. So a lot of people don't even know that. Everybody thinks that it was Marotta's move or whatever, but it was Agnelli's hand in that. So we did a lot of things wrong. But I just want a president that knows what's happening on the pitch, off the pitch, and who has that Juventus DNA, as we so often mention, but somebody
Mhm.
that lives, breathes Juventus and wants the best for the squad, for the club as a whole. And that's what I'm missing right now, because if you look at the players, they're basically, for me at least, the result of what's happening in top management. And if you don't have that structure, then things will go wrong, as we've seen in the past so many times, and we keep on making these same mistakes that it's baffling me, to be honest.
Yeah, a team that's run well plays well. Just look at, Bayern is consistently well run. Barcelona had their problems, and see, like, for the last few years they were kind of a joke too. They're just, speaking of them, they're playing right now, but yeah, I agree with you. A team needs a good president, a person who runs the team well. So you mentioned Del Neri. I wanted to mention here that 33 points from the last 19 league games for Mota and his team. That is the worst in 14 years since Del Neri 2010-2011 season. And a lot of our fans, a lot of our listeners are new. They don't know that team. Del Neri's team was special. It's weird because we're kind of okay with Mota right now, but if you compare stats, Del Neri was a terrible coach. Damiano, you mentioned that you're one of those fans that gets agitated, and you talk during the game and you scream out. What was the reaction to the draw yesterday for you?
Oh, as soon as we scored, first instinct was we got to choke them out. We got to stop. Like, I was screaming, choke them out to the
You should be the coach.
I've said this myself. I agree, man. I agree. However, tactically and the actual things that go into it, I'm more of a motivational speaker more than anything. But yeah, it definitely, we didn't, as soon as we didn't close, we had to, I look for a second goal now instead of, okay, we get one goal. Good. That's great. That's cute. But that doesn't do anything for me. We need another goal.
Especially with the record, especially with the way we were playing,
well, that's
an answer goal is somewhere there.
I mean, and if the second we did, then literally we're like minute 45, and Ricci 2 minutes before missed an opportunity from the same right there at the top of the box, the same place where Vlasic scored. Where like 2 minutes later, when nobody stepped up to him, I just don't understand. Like, we're gonna keep making those same mistakes. Gatti's blocking the Di Gregorio's line of sight with Kalulu. They're like, you're in the box. There's two center backs. And they're literally basically almost right. They're, nowhere near the player. The midfielder's nowhere near the player. I mean, I just don't understand. Like six Juventus players in the box right there, but none of them are near or closing down on the ball. It's baffling.
Zach, what do you say to that? I know you're the tactics guy here. What do they do? Team without Vlahovic? Is there, for the tactics and formation nerds out there, what did you see different?
Well, hold. I definitely want to talk about this because I was fascinated to see how we would play with Nico as striker. But just on, to respond from a tactical standpoint to Damiano, or from a coaching standpoint to Damiano, is you can say all those things, start with Savona and Yildiz getting split on the wing in order to get that, which should never happen. Like, there were mistakes, but Vlas, however big the goal is, and off the top of my head, I don't remember, and it's certainly not in meters, right? But the only place Vlasic could score was off of the post, exactly what he did. And what drives me cuckoo is then you have earlier Gatti with a wide open header in the box that he can't get on net. And so it's like, so often teams will get the slightest little bit and they'll take it. Now, in the games past, it's in the 80th minute, and that's harder to mentally recover from. This is in the 45th minute in the first half. Plenty of time to recover.
They came out in the second half ready to get us. Like, it was unbelievable.
Well, they did, but at the same time, that's plenty of time for a team to adjust and so from a tactical standpoint, it sucks. Certainly also because of just how tight of a window he fit that goal into. But I'm not panicking at that point. There's a lot of time, right? So tactically, that's not going to be a concern for me going to halftime. Say we've done a lot right. This is our way back into the game. Now, transitioning to maybe what you were getting at, Farhad. Okay, so how would we answer with a team with Nico Gonzalez at center forward? And I really want all of your take on this because I was looking for him to be kind of the anti-Vlahovic in a way. Somebody who was better in possession, somebody who was going to help link up play, somebody who was going to enable Koopmeiners to play more centrally because he actually can play with his feet. And for at least those things that I was looking for, I saw from Nico Gonzalez. He did not get bumped off from defenders, certainly in hold-up play in the middle of the field. He linked up well. I mean, he was 18 of 21 in passing, which is more completed passes than Vlahovic has had in any 2 games combined, and at an accuracy of greater than 20% of Duchan's. So I was really happy with his link-up play. He brought a lot of the other folks, our wingers, where we've been driving most of our offense, into play in a positive way. And so I was really encouraged from that. But ultimately, we still have to score. And we leave the game with a draw, with one of the big misses being a flub or mishit from him kind of at the 6-yard box. It still ended up on goal, which is great, but he has to do better in that position. And that's been the story of every game, is we'll get guys in good positions that will not finish. Certainly not with the regularity that other teams seem to against us.
Can I read a kind of an unbelievable stat? 50% of the games played so far, Juventus have drawn 63% of all of those games. just to give you an idea. Look at Freddie shaking his head. He's going through it, man. He's going.
I'm sorry. I'm having a really hard time. Like, I trying to find the positives, and like what Zach said most eloquently is completely right. I mean, Nico was basically more of a advantage for us than if we compare him to Vlahovic. But if we look at everything else, if we look at how we come out the second half, because normally, or at least in my experience, when a team gets back or draws like at the end of the first half, I always feel that fire. Like, I want to start the second half straight away. I want to rectify those issues, and I think that a coach and the players themselves, they need to take responsibility at that point and say, okay, we're going into the second half and we're going to start all cylinders firing. And that didn't happen. And it's those little details for me that have a huge influence and an impact on our results and on our performances. And that's what really grinds my gears.
You know, you can talk about the first 5 minutes of the second half, and no one's going to dispute that Torino wasn't the better team. They came out with fire. They got the ball to kick off. They kicked it long, and they tried to push us in to get that goal. No question. But of the 45 minutes in the second half, we were the better team for the vast majority of them, creating way more chances. We got 9 shots on goal to their 2. Right. In fact, if you look at, say, progress, I look over our most recent performances. They should show that we're improving, because with a newer team, you should show progression throughout the season. But over the last 5 games, Torino, Milan, Fiorentina, Monza, Cagliari, we had more expected goals in 4 of 5. The one that we weren't was due to the penalty against Milan. Big chances. We had more or equal big chances in every game, and we had more or equal shots on target. We had more shots on target, overwhelmingly so, in 4 of those 5. And when you look at the last 7 draws, we have 14, right? So the more recent 7 draws, we've scored
big
first,
sample size,
huge. We've scored first in the first 7. We only scored first once out of those first 7 draws. That's not a team who's going prepared. That's not a team who's executing properly. In the most recent 7 draws, we scored first in 4 of them. The team is stepping up, starting well, and executing. But, right, they're not polished enough to finish the product. Scoring first early, more shots on target, higher expected goals, bigger chances. We're leading in that. Teams should win more often than not when that's the case. We're showing that a still immature team is not executing to the realm of a team like Atalanta or Lazio or Inter that are older, that have more cohesion because they played together longer. And that's surprising in my opinion, as we're a new team, like brand new team.
And on Zach's point there, like, we still haven't lost, which I almost feel like it might be better if we did. But, we come back when we're down. But when we're ahead, we let it go. You know what I mean? So it's almost like we have that heart. There's something in us when we're down, but when we're when we're up 1-0, it's, let's just like try to, I don't know, let them come to us, and okay, like we're satisfied, but we don't.
it goes back to what I said in the last episode, is that winning is not intrinsic. Nobody is inherently at birth a winner. It's something that people have to learn. They have to learn an experience, what it takes to win, the effort, the cohesion, the mentality to close out games. And this team has not learned it yet. And for the first time in my life, so we're going as a like fan of Juventus, you're talking over 30 years, right? We don't have those veterans and those established winners as part of our squad. They're not there.
And neither is the coach, to be honest.
And they didn't bring anybody in, with that. So when you have the coach and the players that don't have that, the coach, say what you want about Mota as a player, wildly successful, right? He knows as a player what it takes to win.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I meant as a coach. No, that's not fair, of course.
Okay. So, so from the player standpoint, they don't know what that is yet. And so what they're doing is effectively guessing at what a winning mentality is when they're trying to close out these games. And they just don't have that on-field general to help them stay focused and disciplined. Now they're going to win some games. We won 7. By the way, interesting stat, of our 7 wins, Nico started in 4 of them. And, he hasn't started many games. So maybe that spells a good thing for the second half of the season. But
he's a great player, just made of glass. Like that's his main issue is the injuries, right? I truly enjoy watching Nico Gonzalez play.
But we need someone to step up as that general. We saw Captain Coop. Coop is his captain sides before. Locatelli has won Euros, right? We've got some players who have a little bit more leadership chops, but as a young squad, especially getting rid of Danilo, who is the established winner on our team, we need someone who really steps up to instill, at least to the best that they know now, as best as possible, some degree of discipline so we can start learning how to win as a team.
We don't have that time to learn how to win. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't feel we have that time. We need somebody. I'm not saying we need to win a Scudetto. I'm not saying we need to win the Champions League, not even this year or the year after that, or maybe even the year after that. But we need to win games, show progression, and instill that mentality ourselves. And the first thing you need is a coach who tells you that every practice, every game, and gives you confidence. And I know we talked about it, but giving an armband to someone is not it, especially not in that situation. You give an armband to gold miners, and you basically, instead of alleviating the pressure, add more pressure, because things have not been turning out greatly the last few games. And what do? You give him the armband while he was one of the, in my opinion, the most weaker links in those last games. So you're putting extra pressure on him. And all these things that are happening, I just fail to see the why behind those things. Because if you're telling me that this squad is not mature enough, I agree. If you're telling me that we don't have that many leaders, I agree. If you're telling me that we need time to gel, I agree. And all those points, I agree. But if you tell me that with this squad we can't win against Venezia, Cagliari, Torino, Parma, I'm sorry, that's unacceptable. And the first person who should be held accountable for that is, of course, in my opinion, I'm nobody, but I think the sporting director and the coach, because we can't keep on switching players. We made a choice with players. We paid a lot of money for some players, so they'll have to make do. But to get these results with this squad, with the people that we have, the talents that we have, for me, it's truly unacceptable. And like I said, I don't know the way out. I don't know, or I don't feel that firing person X, Y, or Z is the answer to that. But I fail to see this project. I hear in the media, I hear about by the fans, yeah, but we have a project. But what is the project? I know why. I know why Giuntoli has been put there. I know why Scanavino and Ferrara have been put there by Alcon to keep the books in order, which I can agree, because it's been disastrous the last years. But as I remember, at the beginning of the season, Giuntoli himself confirmed, like, we have to get the books in order. That's our main objective, but we mustn't lose our edge. We have to keep in bringing in results, and our first ambition and a must ambition that we can't basically skip is getting that 4th place for the Champions League.
You don't think we're gonna still get it?
No, not by a long shot.
Interesting.
Not by a
Wow,
long shot.
interesting.
No.
Well, let's
mean-
kind of go ahead, Zach, and then I'll read the ratings from FODMAP.
I can understand, sympathize with the pessimists out there, but if you look at the table, forget everything. We are right there for 4th place. So you can say that whatever you want, but teams around us keep drawing and losing. Lazio just drew, Atalanta just drew Udinese, Milan just drew, Bologna just drew with Roma. The point that it's there. So I can understand you not seeing the vision, which I disagree with, but it's still there. It's not like we're in 15th place, or it's not like we're out of it. We're literally right there. Okay, the team. It's up to the players to step up.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Damian.
Sorry, my bad, Zach. I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is the month that we're going to find out. I mean, we have to turn it around. We got to turn it around now. There's no after January, the season we could definitely be way out of position for Champions League spot, or we could be right in the thick of it. It just it depends. We need results fast, and we have a schedule that's not on our side. I mean, and the 2 Champions Leagues games that we have to perform in those 2 that we have remaining for this year. At least, hopefully, we have more. But yeah, we're in a good position there.
Let me go through first of all, why is Gattuso 2008 on our podcast? I just want to ask. Second of all, let me go through the top 6, let's say. So Napoli in first place, 44 points, 43 for Inter in second, Atalanta 42, and then there's kind of a drop off. Lazio in 4th with 36 points, Juventus in 5th with 33, Fiorentina behind us 32 in 6th. So I mean, we're 5th. We are 11 points away from, or not 11. It's my vision. Yeah, we are 11 points away from first place Napoli.
Can we also look
situation.
at the teams? Sorry, but can we look at the teams below us? Because I read something interesting yesterday, and a lot of teams below us are fumbling their season. And I'm talking about Milan. I'm talking about Roma.
Yeah, Milan is in 8th. Roma is in 10th.
But
yeah, crazy. I mean, Milan has 28 points, so at least we're not Milan,
No, but what I read yesterday was if those teams were to maintain their seasonal average that they maintained the last decade, and our results would be the same as they are now, we would be in 11th place.
That's like saying if dinosaurs still roam the world, Frederic. That is absolute. That absolutely means
no.
Nothing.
I don't.
It means nothing.
I don't hold much value to that, but it is baffling because, we're 3 points away from 4th. Okay, that's very nice, but we're also 3 points away from 1 point away from Fiorentina. We're 3 points away from Bologna. We're 4 points away from Milan.
You know what kind of
that's our glass half full versus glass half empty right here.
I think that's just realism. If you look at the top, you also have to look at the bottom. And if we have 3 critical games coming up, where if we were to bet money on this right now, I don't think that any passionate Juve supporter would say, "Oh, we're going to go for 9 out of 9." No, and if the trend continues, we'll drop 2 places in the next month.
Let me interrupt you guys. Let me take a break. Alessandro Belpieri here. Let me just read next few games in Serie A for Juve. I'm gonna disregard Champions League. So Atalanta away, January 14th. We're hosting Milan January 18th, 4 days later in Serie A, and then January 25th is the game against Napoli away. So tell me how many points we're getting from these 3 games. 2 away games, 1 home game. 2 points? 4 points maybe? Yeah,
Dude,
exactly. I mean, I don't think we're going to win against Napoli. We're going to I don't think there's going to be a 5. You predict 5 points?
Think there's a win in there?
I think there's a win in there. I think there has to be a win in there. There just has to be. There has to be a win in there.
Yeah.
And then if our team has shown anything, it's that they don't lose very well. So I'll give us a win and 2 draws, obviously optimistically speaking,
Okay.
because that's a tough string of games. And I think we got Club Brugge in there, is what Benfica around there as well too. So it's a grueling thing. But other than our 2 ACLs, we're getting healthier, right? We showed today, and I didn't really get y'all's opinion, but I thought we looked really good in possession and overall with Nico at center forward. It was certainly much more pleasing for me to watch. And I think his movement and his ball collectability, if that's not even a phrase, but you know what I mean? His touch is going to be really important against a team like Atalanta, where his movement could pull their man marking, their 3-man back out of position, allow space for Yildiz and Conceição or Weah or Mbangula to play. So I thought that was really optimistic. And I think, especially if you watched Atalanta versus, what was it, Udinese, they looked terrible. So I think you go in with the right attitude. I know Bergamo is a tough place to play, but yeah, I think we go in with the right attitude and the fire under their butt that Damiano and Frederic have been talking about. You come out of that with at least a tie, and then you can definitely steal a game against this Milan, who also looked like garbage.
Do you guys mind if I present some ratings?
Yeah, I'll just finish my thought.
Sure.
And we owe Milan, so I expect the team to come out also with some fire in that one.
So if you're watching this podcast on Spotify or YouTube, by the way, join us at Turin Giants on Instagram and everywhere else. So we're looking at player ratings here. Yildiz, don't you guys agree? He was the best on the pitch. He's 8.3 on FOTMob. Overall, a lot of players are in green. There's only 3 players that are. Coop Miners was 5.7. That's pretty terrible. De Gregorio 6.2 and 6.9 for Mbangula, but the rest were in the 7s. Even our guy Douglas Luiz. What did you guys think of him? Finally,
I was glad
some action with his yellow top.
Yeah, I'll give you guys some quick hits here right now. He's his third start of the season, which amongst players who started games is the second lowest. His last start was in October. Of course, he's had the well-documented injury issues with us. He was 76 of 81 passing, 3 chances created, 10 passes into the final third, 92 total touches. I thought he played really well. I think in general, our team played better than the opposition, so maybe that doesn't say too much. But he didn't seem to me to be lacking from a tactical standpoint or a technical standpoint. So it was nice to see him get some game time. I guess my question to him is was it enough to play himself above Locatelli in maybe more that holding role? And I'm not sure that was necessarily the case.
Can I just say who kind of stood out for me? I I mean, all the circumstances. I enjoyed Turan because there was a lot of fidgety passes in the center, and he was the only one who was kind of trying to break through the midfield. He was given those forward passes, and he was going for them as far as the runs go. They weren't all great, but at least he was trying. I was very critical of him until the last few games, but I'm starting to kind of enjoy his Pogba impression with the long legs and the long strides. So, unlikely positive from yesterday for me was Thuram. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of enjoyed what he brought to the table.
Well, what do you think about Douglas Luiz, guys? I mean, we've big signing. He was supposed to be part of. I mean, we saw this for the first game all season, right? He was supposed to be part of this new midfield of Douglas Luiz, Thuram, and Koop Miners.
He was supposed to be the guy.
Well, it's sort of one of the linchpins, Koop Miner as well. Kefram Tron being more of a luxury at that point with the 2 big signings. What do you guys think maybe of Douglas Luiz himself or as this trio?
I mean, I liked Luis yesterday. I liked how he dribbled with the ball. He took that open space. I mean, I feel, sometimes it drives me nuts when players, they have that open space, but they just don't. They hold it. They hold the ball. They kind of, do a short pass to the side. Yeah, it's just like when you have that space taken, Luis wasn't afraid of that. I mean, and I thought he played pretty good. I mean, I think he needs more time to play, really, is the main. I mean, we got to see more of him. And see how he did. I mean, I liked what I saw yesterday, and I think that honestly, my concern is mainly Koop Miners. But I don't know. I liked Douglas Luiz yesterday. I thought he had a better game than Cope Miners. I mean, but I think a lot of people did too. But
I thought he was.
Sometimes
yeah,
maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
He did give a couple of terrible passes around, but overall, yeah, it was not. It was like meh. It was comparing to what we've seen from Douglas Luiz. I guess it was a positive.
Do you want a Douglas Luiz stat of the day?
Let's go.
Douglas Luiz leads Serie A in one stat. Can you guess?
One stat.
completed passes.
Nope.
Color reserve.
Well, maybe that's a matter of opinion. He leads Serie
That was
A
right.
in successful dribble percentage.
I can see why. I
80%.
mean,
That's a deep cut.
Can't
That's
say
why I
that
love
I'm
Zach.
shocked, to be honest.
It's wild, but you know he's very good low center of gravity, good balance, and good close control. Obviously, I'm not suggesting he dribble through teams, but but if he can use that balance and that close control, and he can really complement our team in against certain teams, maybe not Atalanta in a couple of days, but I think that will be a really essential, crucial, insert your synonym there, addition to our squad rotation over the remainder of the season.
I mean,
By
maybe
far
just.
Sorry.
Sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
I think by far the most technical player that we have in our squad, and you can see that the moment he touches the ball, the way he handles the
Maybe
ball,
just maybe he did go through a slump. Maybe this is we're
I
finally.
think we
gonna
can
see.
get a lot of benefit out of him, but he needs to play more, like Damiano said. I think that's the first prerequisite thing that we should be holding ourselves on. And in my opinion, I think Douglas Luiz is very good. And if you look at him play with Aston Villa last season, he had two midfielders that basically ran for him. He's not the type of running, working player. He's the type of player that can come out with those dribbles, can come out with those passes, but he needs people beside him that make the runs for him, do that dirty work. And I think if we can integrate that into our style of play, I think we'll get a lot of effort, a lot of benefits from it.
And you know, before we started recording, Zach was sending messages that he wants to touch on a couple of things. Floor is yours, sir. You wanted to touch on our Nico Gonzalez and also the women's team results.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought this up. I love doing the other teams, so we can do that. The next gen and the women's team in just a second.
Okay.
But we talked Douglas Luiz, which is one thing I wanted to touch on. But we kind of teased it a couple of times, but I got to circle us back. Dusan or Nico, based on what you saw yesterday on our team and how we played with Nico at striker, what Damiano and Frederic, who do you start at striker moving forward?
I mean, all day Nico Gonzalez. I'm not a big Vlahovic fan. I don't like the swinging hack kick that he does. He doesn't even look at the goal. He doesn't really hold the ball. Horrible. Nico Gonzalez. Besides, he does, I think, all of that better. I think that, he's also, you see him pressing on, like you see him like actively like being, defend, like, Dusan doesn't play defense. Dusan, I don't, no, dude, Nico Gonzalez for me all day. I'm not a big fan of Vlahovic, to be brutally honest.
And it is, Damiano touches on a big part of it, which is, yes, we're going through a rebuild. Vlahovic is the player that kind of stayed over from the last coach, from the last team. Maybe he is a very important part. Maybe not. Maybe he is stopping the team from. Oh, something fell. What am I trying to say here?
Are you saying? Hold on. Let me help you, Farhad.
If Vlahovic goes, maybe all of this situation improves with a player that Mota brings in or Nico Gonzalez. Sorry, guys. Let me fix my light here.
Yeah, we'll let Frederic give his answer on this question.
No, To be honest, if I back Damiano up 100%, I'd rather see Nico play than Vlahovic. But to think that maybe if we switch Vlahovic with another player, then all our problems will magically disappear. I don't think that either. I think if I have to choose between the two, give Nico because he's more technical, he has more grinta, puts up more pressure. Basically, he's more of a nuisance to the opposition, the way I see it, because you can take Dusan out pretty easily. He takes himself out because if he starts the game wrong, then you can see him going on a trip in his head and nothing works and he's left frustrated and I don't know. But Nico Gonzalez is that player that you can overlook during a whole game and then you let him slip for like one moment and he comes out and scores or gives an assist. So I think he's more useful.
He's like
in that perspective.
he's like Conceição when it comes to that, right? They're so tricky, those little forwards. It's so fun to watch. Like Damiano said, every time Nico touches the ball or Conceição, there's something interesting on the other end of it, as opposed to Vlahovic, where 9 times out of 10 there will be frustration associated with his
But
touches.
Vlahovic is done. His time at Juve is done. Just got another
All right, Frederick.
confirmation.
Frederick, one of the reasons,
Especially for the price,
Frederick, Frederick, tell us a little bit about your inside information.
Well, inside information, I spoke to some people, and I'm not the type to go into like gossip because there's a lot, especially in Italy. But I have 2 people I know closely and who have been involved with Juventus for 11 years now, very up close and personal. So to finish the other sentence, Vlahovic is definitely done. Like if it's not January, it's going to be June. His time at Juventus is done. I don't need to elaborate on that. I don't know any specifics. I do know that Gabriel Jesus from Arsenal had a bad injury today. I know that Arsenal in the past were very interested in Dusan, so I look forward to see how that will result or that will evolve the coming 2 weeks, because they're going to need a substitute anyway. And the other thing I got is that there are some players, and this is from a well-known source, that some players are not getting along with Mota. I don't know how to put it in English.
No, that's good.
But there's something that, happened after the Danilo thing. Like Danilo was put out of the squad. A couple of players within the team couldn't accept that. And they talked to Mota and Giuntoli about their displeasure behind that. And I know there are 5 or 6 players, according to my source, but 3 players that I can mention, and Gatti, Cambiaso, and Fagioli.
The Italian
you.
And
players.
Vlahovic too. But Vlahovic, I mean, that's of no interest because he's gone anyway. So, but yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for that, man.
What's the greatest cure for all this stuff?
Marijuana. What?
Winning. So I mean, what it's every single game, and we talked about at least in my opinion, saw this Torino game as a opportunity to exercise the demons of first half past, but then it comes to the next one, out of this Atalanta game, who just looked horrible in their draw just the other day. Let's go in with fire. We tend to play better away than at home so far this year. So I'm cautiously optimistic our ability to go in with the right attitude and maybe steal that game.
Yeah, but we had a great win against Manchester City, and everything seemed to be roses after that. And then I don't remember the next game, but it was just a huge disappointment again. I don't know. Maybe 2-3 wins in a row might be a cure, but Zach is absolutely right. When the team is down, there's so much negativity. There's stuff kind of gets put in the not the front seat, but in the front view again. So,
but I also think that because you have these ups and downs in every team, whether it be Juventus, whether it be Manchester City, whether it be Barcelona, Bayern Munich, whatever. And I think that's why you need to have a strong managerial side above the coach. You need a sporting director, you need a financial director, you need a general director, you need a president. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know for a fact that when things went haywire at the Sarri era, Agnelli went into the dressing room and just gave a speech and literally said, I don't care who you are, what you achieved. This is our coach, and you need to listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what missing is for me, a part that's missing at this point, because you can have your discussions with players, you can have your pet peeves, and you can have your favorite players and your least favorite players. But if those things escalate, you need somebody from above in the management to intervene and say, okay, let's sit around the table, let's resolve this, because this is hurting not only yourselves, but also the squad and the club. And this needs to stop. And that's why I mentioned, like at the beginning of the podcast, someone needs to intervene in some way. And the word intervene has a very negative negative feel to it, but I don't mean it as a negative thing. I mean, I know for a fact that if you sit down with the whole team and you speak freely and you speak your mind, and you can accept criticism, but also you can receive it in terms of feedback, then you can grow.
Yeah.
And this is something that I don't feel that's happening at the club at this point right now, because Scanavino, let's be honest, he doesn't even know how a ball looks. Ferrero, I doubt that he knows that our colors are black and white. And then you have Giuntoli, who has to take on all the sporting things, because normally you have a general director and a sporting director who divide those tasks. And now that's all up to Giuntoli, who makes mistakes, as did Marotta. But Marotta had Paratici to back him up.
So at this point, are we talking rebuild and stick with Mota, or this is too much? We're not going to win shit again this year. Where you guys stand on that? Do we trust the process or cut your
Well,
losses?
I think we have to let it play out for the rest of the season. I mean, unfortunately, we have. I mean, that's. We're not. Who's the other candidates for coaches? I mean,
Yeah.
at the moment that we could get, we're going to go back to Allegri.
Imagine.
I mean, like, I don't know who the candidates are.
You guys,
You
it's so
know?
funny. It's so funny you mentioned Allegri. You guys are all from Reddit. Like we found each other on Reddit. By the way, shout outs to them. Great group of guys there. Somebody just posted not too long ago. It was like, can we stop bringing up Allegri?
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
it,
I agree.
it happened, but he's not. He's maybe it's just recency bias. People keep comparing whoever is in charge right now to Allegri, but it's like if we had a podcast in the 90s, we'd be comparing everybody to Lippi. So would you guys stand on, bringing up Allegri every chance we get?
Stop, please stop. I've had enough.
I mean,
I've had enough of Allegri. I've had enough. There's no comparison to be made here. There is no comparison to do. I respect Allegri for what he's done, but it's over. It's done. Let's not
agreed.
get into this, because he's not coming back. He's not, like, I know that for sure, even if he was the last coach under, he's not coming back. But comparing Allegri and just Allegri, not the results, but Allegri, I think that's nonsense, because you never know. You saw Allegri's outburst last season. Imagine the type of outburst he would have had right now. I mean,
He would have been naked on the sideline by now.
Hello.
he'd be butt
Foaming
naked
at the
and
mouth.
being restrained by 5 or 6 stewards at this point. So, I mean, it's nonsense. Look forward. I mean, we took a gamble. Let's be honest. We took a gamble with Motta because it was a gamble. He had a good year at Bologna, very good year. But prior to that, with Spezia and whatever, it wasn't all positive. But we took a gamble. So either we ride it out, and because it was Giuntoli's pick, Motta, so ride it out, because Giuntoli can't afford to fire Motta, because he'll blame himself. I mean, you're pointing a finger at somebody, but you're pointing a finger at yourself too at that point.
Yeah.
So write it out, but be prepared for what can happen. That's all I'm saying. Because if we have to rebuild everything and we miss out the Champions League, then you can be sure that we're going to sell a lot of players in order to get financially stable. And let's be honest, if a player is interested in Juventus, you won't be interested in Juventus if Juventus isn't playing Champions League. If you can go to Atalanta playing Champions League or Juventus playing Champions League, and the transfer fee and the wages are the same, you can be damn sure that a player chooses Atalanta.
All right. Well, Zach wanted to bring this up. Let's talk about a Juventus team that's actually doing well. Zach, What you
Yeah,
got for
we're
us?
going a little long, so I'll be real quick on this. But I
You're
love
good.
I love mentioning the women's team, the Juventus women's team, as much as their Champions League campaign was not particularly great. They were stuck with a tough group. Their Serie A campaign has been fantastic. They won 3-0 just this weekend, and they continue to dominate the women's table. So if you get the opportunity to catch a game of them, they're playing some really good ball right now. And next gen team back in November was bottom 20th in their group within
Like bottom.
bottom
Okay.
last. They were playing terrible under Paulo Montero, and he got sacked. They brought in a guy named Massimo Brambilla of Monza fame, and this team has not lost since November, since the switch. And so it might not sound that great, but they're up to 16th place. But look,
Can I take my dings back?
No, surefire relegation to they haven't lost in a month and a half ish. So
Yeah.
they're finally starting to put together a defensive side of the ball. They were always able to score goals, but now they're keeping goals out. And so that's really good for our youth prospects. There's several guys that I've mentioned on the podcast in the past that continue to perform really well for that team. So they're on the right trajectory.
What a difference a new coach makes.
1-1 today against Catania. The next gen.
Yep, they won 2-1 today against Catania again. The same guys who've been scoring for them did today. Catania being mid-table Serie C. I mean, everyone's above them in the table, so they're beating better opposition.
Yeah, and like I don't mean to prolong this, but you see what a result sometimes a coach switch can have. And I'm not saying that it's set in stone anywhere, but I do know from Brambilla, he came on for his day and he made sure like, these are the rules. This is the way I'm going to play. And he made them sweat basically. And now you can see the results. And I'm not saying that this happens in every team because this is only next gen, let's be honest. But it was a bit of a shock effect to the players. And sometimes it can be very positive shock effect like that. It can also turn out to be really negative. And that's another gamble that sooner or later we're going to have to take. Because if we continue with Mota this year, we're going to have to think in June, are we going to continue? Yes or no? And
Are you Mota out?
Yeah, I'm Mota out at this point.
Mota, but when? Like, if you ran the team, it would be right now or at the end of the season?
It's not. I'm a bit of in a gray area there because, like I said, you have to take into account what can happen if things keep spiraling down this bad. And just because of that bleak outlook, I'd say
the risk is too high.
Yeah, but as Damiano said, what are our alternatives? Like if Klopp came to Continas and said, "Hey, I want to coach Juventus," yeah, sure, sack Mota straight away. But if you're going to have to call, I don't know who. There's been talk about Mancini, I think.
I just heard about a great coach Zach brought up. I've never heard of him before, but he sounds great.
Our next gen coach.
Bring him in.
Yeah, I mean, that's another. So you're going to switch a gamble for a gamble. You need stability now. And if you can get a coach that's world class and that's willing to work with this team, then I see no reason why not to try. But if you're going to trade a gamble for another gamble, then I don't see the point, to be honest. And also the fact that
we need the good price there for the coach. Sorry, Frederick, but
no,
we got to get it for the right price. You know what I mean? Like Klopp, he ain't gonna come for the cheap. You know. I wish he did, but
and he's going to want assurances that we can't guarantee. I think with me, and maybe I am the most forgiving on the podcast, but my Mota date is sort of December of this year, so December 2025. If after a year and a half, he can't get these guys purring, he has to go. But until then, you trust the process. You brought this coach in for a reason. You trust your process, your methodology, your reasoning. That this is not a complete squad. Even if we didn't have the injuries on defense, not at all a complete squad. We give those extra guys and the extra windows and however we need to finagle it. to get a complete squad for Malta, and that's at that point, middle of next season, we'll know 100%. Well, no, maybe not 100, 75, 80%. But right now, it's still too early because he's got an incomplete, mostly injured squad, and still is. And as much as Frederick's glass is empty, we're right there. So even with all of the screw up or whatever you could want to call the first half of the season, we're still right there. It's still everything to play for. So there's no reason to throw everything off and start over. We did that with Sarri. We did that with Pirlo. Let's not make the same mistakes.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Zach. Like I know it's tough. I know it's rough to watch, but just the beginning, like Zach said, difficult squad with the injuries and stuff like that. Just I don't know. I don't hate it. I don't hate this Juve yet. You know what I mean? It's not great, but I'd rather have this than Allegri. Speaking of nothing, we weren't speaking of that at all. Champions League, January 21st. Frederick, how do you pronounce the team we're playing? So
Club Brugge.
Brugge. Are you going to the game?
I am probably, but fair warning, they're firing from all cylinders. I've seen them play a couple of times. It's not that they're a world-class side, but they have what it takes to get Juve into trouble, basically. They're very, very well organized. They're very hungry, so to speak. So they always put pressure on the opposing side.
I think
And
they're from Belgium, not Hungary.
no, they're from Belgium. But and sorry, just came in. And I think they're a very compact side, and they're really the quintessential team, like not to be underestimated. So I'm pretty eager to see how that pans out.
And especially playing away, it's never easy in those stadiums that are so close to the pitch with the support and stuff. It's not going to be an easy game, but I'm looking forward to it. We've been doing pretty all right in the Champions League. I don't have it pulled up here, but maybe Champions League can be our silver lining of the season. But who knows? I think we brought up everything. What would you guys like to talk about? I've been kind of away and busy with the holidays. I haven't been following the transfer, but I'll throw a couple names here your way. I'm reading here that Juventus are confident about ceiling move for Barcelona's Ronald Araujo. Anybody? And also
another injured player. Like, come on, guys! It's even if it's on loan, he's played in what 2 full games. Like,
holy!
seriously?
If you pull up his injury list, I mean, you can just keep scrolling. I mean, it doesn't end. Unless it doesn't end. It's amazing. Like this guy can injure himself by getting out of bed in the morning. I mean, if he's not injured, he's a world-class player. Don't get me wrong. In my opinion.
Agreed.
Wise, but he's been injured so much it's laughable.
Yeah, and then when they do get injured, we're kind of surprised about it.
Yeah.
All right, so Frederick is not signing
back.
Who?
I mean, Dean's playing really well in the EPL, but but that's not going to happen. And that was the sale more so than Sule that hurt that kind of hurt me a little bit. But that's the realities of the financial situation of the club, and that's the realities that Frederic is referring to when you talk about not making Champions League and what our team would look like in the summer. So lesson learned there. But he is playing really well. And in fact, I think he was on the team of the month for the EPL this last month.
True. Yeah, true. And I've watched him play a couple of times, but the thing is with Juventus, at that point, when we choose to sell him, he was asking guarantees like starting position, this and that. And that didn't really go well with management. And I think that the decision for selling him came from there. But I felt bad too, Zach. I mean, I really saw a lot of potential in him. I saw him play in next gen a lot of times, and he really caught my eye. So it's always, a bit sad.
And there's also a name that Romeo Agresti is actually confirming. He's a young right back, Alberto Costa. Should be available in 2 days. Anybody heard? Anybody familiar?
Never heard of him.
We probably should have done a little research. But
no, is he the young 19 Portuguese? Or so. Is he the young Portuguese right back coming from?
Yeah, I believe so. Super young, very. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I love Portuguese players at Juve. I don't know. It's something about It's like
Yeah,
having a
yeah.
Brazilian on a team.
A lot of teams that were interested in him, from the likes of, I think, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Arsenal, Milan,
Those
Roma.
powerhouses.
So I think there's potential, but I heard the transfer fee was around 13 million, which seems a bit steep to me because I had a look at transfer market and his value there was about 1 million. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know if we're getting a good deal here, to be honest.
The
Well,
question
we'll
is I mean, well, this is in line with the strategy of this team, youth, right? I think with right back, Savona's done well. I think he's been generally pretty decent for a next gen promotion, right? But we really needed a legitimate right back, and I was hoping, I've been keep saying about how we don't have this proven winner, we don't have this veteran, we don't have this leadership, that maybe you plug that hole with a guy with leadership chops that can come on the team. Doesn't look like that's the case if we're being linked with more youth targets in striker, in both our striker position as well as right back.
Agreed. We need some veterans.
So there's a couple of transfer news. I wanted to concentrate more on the Torino game, so didn't really do much research about transfers, but I saw some tweets and stuff. Of course, as January approaches, transfers, and Frederick is going to shine because apparently he's got a source in Turin, which is very, very interesting. As January approaches, we'll have more transfer stuff, but hopefully you guys, the listeners, enjoyed us breaking down.
Don't forget, sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
this could be the make or break week for Kolo Muani. Last thing I heard is that it's going in the right direction. I don't know which way, shape, or form. Like, will it be a straight out loan? Will it be a switch with Vlahovic? But
what is right direction? Does right direction mean it's going to fall through? Do we want him? Do we not want him? I don't know anything about him.
I don't think I want him that much, personally.
I think we want him, and he wants to join Juventus as well. But PSG paid 95 million for him a year ago.
Let me rephrase that. I don't think I want him. My bad.
So it's gonna.
What'd you say, Damiano? What'd you say?
I said, let me rephrase that real quick. I should have said, I don't think I want him. I said, I don't think we want him, but I meant,
you're not the only one. I've read some stuff that people are like, really? Who? What were you saying, Frederick? Sorry.
I think he could be. He's a technical Vlahovic, and like he can score, he can create chances. I don't think he's a very bad player at all. I think he can really.
But we're not paying 95 mil, are we?
No. I think the recent suggestion or the offer that Juve made was an option to buy with a diluted payment of, I think, around 40 millions in 4 years, but an option. But PSG want an obligation, and I think that's a bit of a hiccup at this point. But we'll see what happens. But I expect some news soon. I think tomorrow and Tuesday are going to be news-filled days, to be honest.
Excellent. Well, time to wrap this up. Here we go. All right, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us. Zach, Damiano, Frederick, you guys are always an amazing part of our podcast. Boys and girls, at Turin Giants on all social platforms, please check out TurinGiants.com. If you love this hoodie that I'm wearing, please check it out on TurinGiants.com. A lot more things on the website as well. We'll be back. Hope you guys enjoyed this. There's not much left to say, right? I get kind of tired by the end of the podcast. I kind of peter out. But boys, any last moments? Any last? I think we covered it all, right? Damiano, a lot better from you this time, my friend. New guys, you guys are all from Reddit, so it's so far we're 3 for 3 with new co-hosts, and I know I appreciate you guys. Listeners, thank you as always. You guys are super supportive. Catch us on Instagram if you want to talk to us. That's about it. Enjoy your Sunday, guys. Check on your friends. Stay hydrated, and Forza Juve.
Toodaloo, motherfucker.
Hey,
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.